So I give great thanks for this moment in time, knowing that we take this time out from the busyness of life, from the doing of life, to just step back, just to take a deep inhale and a nice exhale, and just bring ourselves fully present to this moment in time, to this eternal now, where there is God, where there is absolute peace, where there is love and joy and harmony, right in this present moment where we are. So I give thanks for this time spent together. I know it is all God, it is all good. I know that there is one life, which is spirit expressing as the multitude, knowing that each and every one of us an individualization of the one life of God, heir to all the good in the kingdom, knowing of ourselves and each other as that individualization of the one life, united at the root. We know we are one. We know it is God. We know it is good. And so it is. So good afternoon. I wanted to talk to you today about more mindfulness. So I'm calling today More Mindful Monday. And I have my notes. I'm ready to go. You know, one of the things that I realized during this time is that we probably have more unstructured time than probably any time in our lives because we are sheltering at home. And I know some of us are working from home. I'm working from here. But there is a lot of unstructured time at home where we're not going out, we're not doing anything, we're not engaged in the busyness of life, we're not going out to dinner or out to movies or anything like that. So we have this time really to go deeper into our spiritual practice, to go deeper into our spiritual philosophy, to really mine it for the deep and abiding spiritual practice that it is, that changes our thinking and changes our lives. So I wanted to start off with this quote from Ernest Holmes. He says, "The universal mind contains all knowledge. It's the potential ultimate of all things. To it, all things are possible. To us, as much is possible as we can conceive according to law. Should all the wisdom of the universe be poured over us, we would yet receive only that which we are ready to understand." And that's why I think it's important that we continue to work on our ability to expand our consciousness. The greater we can conceive of is the greater that we can demonstrate. And so I wanted to talk to you today about mindfulness, about that practice of just being where we are while we're here. In any place, wherever we are, right? Mindfulness is a simple practice. Maybe it's not easy. I don't think it's hardly ever easy. I don't know. Let me think. For me, it's a real challenge sometimes, but it's a simple practice. It is the practice of being where you are when you are there. Really, that's about it. Seems simple, right? We think we are where we are most of the time, but in reality, we are hardly ever where we are when we're there. So this is what I want us to think about for now. You know, the Buddha said that our mind is like a room full of drunken monkeys. And I love that analogy. I think that's a riot. Well, it probably would be a riot. A room full of drunken monkeys jumping around, screeching, chattering, carrying on endlessly, all clamoring for attention. And we know fear is the especially loud monkey, you know, ringing the alarm bell constantly, pointing out to all things that we should be wary of and all the things that can possibly go wrong. Sound familiar? Right. Yeah, me too. So when we're doing something, when we're engaged in some activity, you may find that your mind is not entirely focused on that activity, but your mind sometimes wanders into the future. We go to our to-do list, right? You're in the middle of doing something, but you're thinking about what's the next thing that you have to do. What's on your to-do list? What do I have to pick up from the store after this? Or what's on TV tonight at 7 o'clock? Or what, I have to get the oil changed. You're thinking of a whole lot of other things, you're futurizing a whole lot of other things that have nothing to do with the task that you're involved in. And sometimes we'll think about stuff in the past as well, right? We're very rarely where we are because we're in the past sometimes. We're thinking about what they said or what someone else said, or what we said in reaction to what someone else said, or what happened and how we should have done it differently, or how we should have said something differently. We get all involved in those kinds of reviews of the past. And that's kind of how we spend our day, isn't it? Either in the past or in the future, but very rarely focusing in on what we're doing when we're doing it. It's very difficult to slow that mind down. And so that's why I like this mindfulness practice. I think it's really important for us to slow ourselves down. And we can do it anywhere, and we can do it with whatever it is we're doing. Ernest Holmes in The Love and Law said this. He said, "There's nothing but mind, and that is what manifests the universe. Each of us is a center in this mind, eternally thinking into it, because of its absolute receptivity, its unconditional power of creation, and of the impulse which makes it create everything that it holds. The moment you think, something begins to form around that thought." So it's very, very important that we know what it is we're thinking. This whole absent-mindedness thing of just letting your mind just ramble on while we're doing something is not productive for us, and it doesn't help our spiritual practice. It doesn't help us become better manifestors when this untrained mind is thinking all over the place. Mindfulness helps keep us in the present moment, and that's very important. Keeps us in the present moment, keeps us focused on what we are doing. Do what you are doing and be where you are doing it, really, is the thing to do. Like say, for example, washing dishes. Washing dishes is the perfect place to practice mindfulness. As we wash, we bring our consciousness to the water, to the temperature of the water, to the soap, to the slick feel of the soap between our fingers or on our dishes. We bring our attention to the roughness of the sponge. We bring our full attention to that piece of stuck-on food, right, that's resisting our attempt to get it off the dish. We are engaging in the feel of the dishcloth as it flows over the dish. We are feeling the water pressure as it sprays, the rinse water all over the dishes. We are listening to the squeaky sound that the clean dish makes, right? We're engaged in watching the little rivulets of water run off the dish as we put it in the dish drain. We can be totally conscious, totally in the present moment, focused on what's happening while it's happening. This is the practice of mindfulness, not thinking about any other things other than the thing that we are occupied with. And I think that that's very important. And in the middle of the washing, okay, a stray thought will come in. Right? A stray thought will come in. Oh my gosh, I have to pick up coffee next time I'm at Vaughn's. Okay, so your mind says, okay, just as you flow in, you flow out, So we look at the thought, we go, yeah, that's another thought, and we just let it go. And it will flow back out again. And again, we bring our attention back to what we're doing, this mindfulness, being in the present moment, being with whatever it is that we're doing. And I think one of the reasons why we resist this practice is we kind of think it's a waste of time. I think we think it's a waste of time to bring our mind fully to attention of what we're doing because we're so used to this illusion of, multitasking. But there really is no such thing as multitasking. What we do is we switch between two things, back and forth very rapidly. But there really is no such thing as multitasking. So we're not wasting time. by bringing our attention fully into the task at hand. What we're really doing is a mind training to be able to stay focused in on what we're doing when we're doing it is really to our advantage. It's not a waste of time at all. It is the best use of our time, because that practice of mindfulness is what we bring into our meditation. It is the way that we meditate, by being in the present moment, by slowing our mind down, by training it to be in the present with exactly what's going on. You know, it's our mind and the mind training and the ability to slow it down, to bring it into the present moment, to absolutely be where we are, is the beginning of our meditation practice, right? So we get to be in it, and we get to go into meditation that way. So mindfulness is a big part of that. And it is our mind that brings us into meditation, and yet it's our body that brings us out, isn't it? Because you're in the middle of a meditation, everything's going well, and then you get your foot falls asleep, or you get an itch on your nose, or something happens, and that's what brings us out. So our mind brings us into meditation, our body brings us out. But when we are in meditation, the practice of mindfulness can make it easier for us, can make it simpler. We get more comfortable being in meditation because we are practicing mindfulness during the day. We get to be in whatever it is that we're doing while we're doing it. You know, and so many people that come into this teaching say, oh, I can't meditate, I tried it, I can't meditate, my mind is too busy, or my body is too restless, or whatever. But if you practice mindfulness during the day, when you're not in meditation, you just practice this over and over. It's like anything else. You have to rehearse it, right? You have to try it over and over again. And so we can develop this practice of mindfulness, and that's what provides better meditations for us. You know, we cannot be following our mind all over the place and expect to have clear demonstrations and manifestations in our lives. If we can't keep our thoughts centered on something, how do you expect to ever manifest it? When we are doing prayer and doing our affirmations and doing our meditations and doing that work, it's very clear what our desires are and what we want to manifest in our lives. But when we're the followers of our mind, and our mind goes all over the place, then we start having thoughts like, oh, I desire this. No, I'm not worthy. Yes, I'd like it. No, maybe there's something better out there for me. Oh, I want this. Oh, maybe I want that instead. When our mind's all over the place, you're never going to have those clear demonstrations. Does that make sense? You'll never be able to manifest those things that you think you desire if you're following your mind instead of leading your mind. Because the philosophy really of the science of mind and spirit is a mind training. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, this is in Creative Mind. He says, in the infinity of mind, which is the principle of all metaphysics and of all life, there's nothing but mind, and that which mind does. That is all there is to the universe. That is all there ever was or ever will be. This mind is acted upon by our thought, and so our thought becomes the law of our lives. It is just as much a law in our individual lives as God's thought is in the larger life of the universe. And so we need to understand that as part of our spiritual practice, right? Spirit is forever expressing. Spirit is forever engaging in that divine creative process and is outpicturing all of life across the universe. We are the microcosm of that. We are forever engaged in the creative process in our own personal lives. And we are forever outpicturing, according to that divine creative process, from our most predominant thoughts. And so if our thoughts are scattered all over, then that's the demonstration that we're going to have. And when our thoughts have become focused by these practices, by the practice of mindfulness, by the practice of meditation, by the practice of affirmative prayer, when our minds become focused, then that is what we bring to the creative process, and that's what will manifest. So it is always, incumbent upon us to know what we want to know, to be clear about what we desire to manifest in the world. And one of the really big ways that we can do this, that we can train our minds to be on point and on purpose for our manifestations, is through this process called mindfulness. So practice it today. Practice for the rest of the day, being exactly where you are while you are there. Whatever it is you're doing, whether you are vacuuming or hanging a picture or watching a television show, be mindful of where you are when you're there. And develop that skill, and it'll make it easier to meditate, and it'll make it clearer when you go to prayer what your prayer is. And so speaking of prayer, I think now it's a great time to pray out. So I give thanks for this time spent together. I know that one mind that we all think into and through and with is the mind of God. I know it contains everything. And I know that we draw from it our very life. I know we draw from it our life circumstances. I know we draw from it our good, because I know God is good all the time. And so I give thanks for this time spent together. I know that there is one life. It is the life of God. It is fully present everywhere. It is wholly perfect. It lacks nothing. We have at our disposal all good. All the qualities of God we can manifest through us and in our experience of our lives. So giving great thanks for this time spent together. I call it good. I know it is. And so I let it be. And so it is. Amen. Wonderful to spend this time together with you. Come back tomorrow for Tuesday's Uplift at 1 p.m. I look forward to seeing you there. From my heart to yours, we are Vision. There is no separation. So glad we spent this time together. Bye-bye.